cryptocurrency?
Cryptocurrency is a medium of exchange of digital currency. Some people say that it's the currency of the future. I say it's the currency of now. Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Crypto Talk Live. This is Ryan Brown. I'm your host here. We're live in Houston at the Motive Studios. I got a few guests today. I got a guest who's in San Francisco. He's out in Silicon Valley. His name's Caleb Fenton. Works for SentinelOne. He deals a lot with technology and securities. And then in studio, I have another special guest. He's a longtime friend of mine. We grew up together. He's a local street artist. A lot of you might know him as Yikes. He also runs a little clothing line called YIKES Laundry. Yikes has an interest in cryptocurrency. And one of the things that's unique about Crypto Talk Live is no question is a dumb question. We're here to teach people. We're also here to learn from one another. And that's why I have Yikes in the studio. He wants to learn, I want to teach, and I want to learn as well. So I'm going to go ahead and allow him to introduce himself. But before we do that, I got a little video of some of his artwork at, I believe it's a Houston Meeting of Styles. So we're going to go ahead and run that video, and I'm going to let Yikes tell you a little bit about himself.
Styles 2016, Houston. Going down. Yikes.
He's the most recognized graffiti right here. Look, this man got his own Instagram. He got his own everything. Hey, yo, he's live. He's live. We double live over here. Yo, the biggest celebrity in Houston right here. Everybody came to see him from Meeting of Styles 2016.
I barely met him. I'm glad to meet him.
He's the leader of my crew. I asked him to be a part of his crew.
Yeah, Meeting of Styles 2016. It was very hot, but we in Texas. So it is what it is, man, you know? But hey, let's get it, man. Thanks to the Snapchat team. Yikes, TKB, Weka forever.
I'm trying to get on his level. I'm trying to have filters, stickers, shirts. I'm trying to have models taking pictures with me. No, man, ain't bullshitting.
This guy
ain't bullshitting. Don't let him lie to you. Don't let him lie to you. Celebrity.
Negative. Yo, what up, Houston? Yo, Yikes. Yikes1, Houston graffiti artist. I've been writing since like '96, raised from Northside, Houston, Texas. I've been actually just had a passion for art and just love the street style of it, so I started some graffiti of it back in '96. And just recently, about 5 years ago, started a clothing line, YIKES Laundry. Just pretty much just kind of just bringing in, my Houston, repping Houston along with the clothes, pretty much.
So I got to ask you, I've known you most of my life. Well, not most of my life, but well, we're in our 30s, pushing 40, so I've known you most of my life.
Right.
And as long as I've known you, I remember in middle school you used to do the little the sketches and so on and so forth. And I'm just curious, what was the thing that drove you to art?
Drove me to art, man. Pretty much I guess graffiti art was just pretty much it was just like the rush, you know what I'm saying? Like just doing it, you know what I mean? That's why I'm yikes, too many close calls, So it's just it was fun, when you're 16, you're able to run from principals, custodians, whatnot, but it's fun,
And what I think is funny about what you just said is that brings us back to what Beach Street and what's the other one?
We got Beach Street, you got Breaking.
Yeah,
Breaking
so
2.
Beat Street and Breaking. Remembering, they would tag and they'd run from the cops, the authorities, or whatever. And you were talking about close calls. That's one of the interesting things about blockchain and cryptocurrency is at the moment it's unregulated, and it's kind of crazy because a lot of people get into it for political reasons or financial or economical reasons.
Right.
So it's kind of funny how those two cultures do have a way of combining, that way of, putting your fists up to authority and saying, this is what we're doing. So I think it's, I'm gonna enjoy you being here. So I really want to see exactly where this goes, what you learn from it, and see how we can incorporate cryptocurrency and blockchain technology into the art and the art of graffiti and the whole b-boy scene. Now I got another guest, Caleb Fenton of SentinelOne. He deals a lot with technology securities, and really, let me not try to explain it. I actually have a video of Caleb explaining what he does for a living, and after we see that video, we're going to go ahead and chime in and get a few words from him, and we're going to engage with Caleb, myself, and my boy Yikes.
Hi, my name's Caleb, and I'm a security researcher at SentinelOne. This is Ask S1, the show where we take questions from social media and answer them in the form of a video. This week's question is about what's causing the rising popularity of ransomware. Whenever I try to describe human action, I like to use the language of economics. So the way I think about it is the incentive for ransomware is increasing while the cost for ransomware is decreasing. On one hand, you have the incentive, and that is the data that are being stored and processed by computers. That's increasing all the time. So there's more data, more value, more sensitive stuff, more private stuff being processed by computers and stored on computers. And on the other hand, the cost, is specifically how you take payments with ransomware, is getting easier. So the cost is going down. Now, if you have a ransomware campaign, you can take Bitcoin or some other cryptocurrency. Actually, what's popular right now is Monero because it has built-in privacy. It's harder to track. So you have this increasing incentive and decreasing cost. You're going to get more of it. And you're actually starting to see a blossoming ecosystem where ransomware is being commoditized, and you can actually buy ransomware packages on the dark web. And you can buy it, you customize it, and then you deploy it, and you can make money with it easily. Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of Ask Us One, and be sure to send us your questions on social media.
So there we go. You just heard a little something about Caleb Fenton and ransomware and its rise of usage in the I guess in the World Wide Webs and also I think we're going to touch on the crypto space. So I'm going to get Caleb in here and we're going to start on this and start figuring out what's up with the ransomware, and how can we protect ourselves from it, especially when dealing with cryptocurrency and maneuvering the blockchain. Caleb.
All right. Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. How are you?
I am doing well. That's a nice video you shot for SentinelOne.
Yeah.
But, of course, as you can imagine, one would have a few more questions. But before we get into that, that's just a video about what you're doing for SentinelOne. Tell us about yourself. Where'd you go to school? Where you're from? And what's your what do you do for a living? I can't hear you. You there? Well, it looks like we might have lost Caleb there for a little bit. But while we try to get him back, you there?
I should be back now. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
here.
Who do you have for internet?
I'm sorry about that. I have no idea why that's been happening today. I've been watching patiently and had no problems until right when I was going to talk. Okay.
That's just the government doesn't want you to say what you're going to say.
Dude, you might be onto something there. Yeah.
So,
okay.
go ahead and tell me, just give us your little backstory real quick.
Yeah, so I've always been into computers since before I can remember. Got into security because I thought there was some...
Man. It's creepy. All right. Looks like Caleb, I don't know, maybe, I don't know if he's got a Cricket phone or Boost Mobile, but it looks like we keep losing him.
I'm on a corporate Wi-Fi. Like, we should have really good internet connections here. I'm so sorry. I'm like right next to the router too, so yeah. All right.
It's fine.
Not sure how much of that you got.
Actually, I got all the way up to you saying you've always been into computers.
Okay, yeah. Before I can remember, got into reverse engineering, which is taking apart programs to understand how they work. And then from there, I got a job doing that, turning...
I caught that.
I've seen this happen. I'm on this Wi-Fi all day, every day, and never have any problems. I even have like a special microphone. Like, I'm so prepared for this.
I mean, may I suggest using a Cat 5 and plugging directly into the modem? That's something that may actually help.
Yeah, I might do that. I would just need a short intermission to...
Yeah, no, that's fine. You go ahead and take an intermission, and I'll have a little conversation here with Yikes about where we're going to be going with you and this whole ransomware thing.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right, Yikes, so I got to ask, do you know what ransomware is?
Ransomware? No.
Okay, so ransomware, you got ransomware and you got malware. And basically, let's say you go to a site and you're trying to watch movies for free.
Okay.
And then a whole bunch of stuff pops up on your screen and says, what you're doing is illegal. Send us money, or send X amount of money here in order to release your name off of this blacklist. Have you ever seen anything like that?
Yes.
So basically what it is it's a way for people to try to finagle their way into your pocket so that they could make a little bit of money. It's funny because I was going to save this for Caleb because I want to know, where does the most ransomware exist? I have an idea, but I'm going to wait until he gets back. So I guess, like, when you search the web, you're on an iPhone. Do you ever get those messages that pop up that tell you, if you've ever gone to a site, that, hey, your private information is public, and then they show your IP address and your name, phone number, and what operation system you're using?
I'm not aware of that.
No?
No.
So then my assumption is that you don't visit porn sites.
I mean, yeah, I do, but I've never gotten that.
Yeah, you never. So, like, and typically that type of stuff revolves around websites that play free movies, or just.
Yeah, I don't really watch many movies. You know, so I mean, I've never. I mean, I don't even know where to stream a movie. You know, so I mean, I've probably seen 39 movies in my lifetime. Like
39 movies.
Straight up, like you can name movies and be like, "What? You ain't never seen that? Like what?" You know, like all my friends are like, "Yeah, you ain't never seen Friday." I'm like, "I've never seen Friday." You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I didn't see Pulp Fiction until.
I ain't never seen Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I saw Pulp Fiction like 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay,
People
yeah.
always had made references to it, and I was like, "Hey, what are you talking about?" And they're like, "You've never seen Pulp Fiction?" I was like, "Nah."
I've never seen it. So,
But for me, I kind of shy away from things that are popular. So if there's a movie that's popular or like a movement or something, I'll typically stay away from it. So did you do any? We had talked about kind of mocking up some sort of artwork to reflect cryptocurrency. Were you able to pull something like that off?
I sketched a little bit. I was doodling and whatnot, but I mean, I just didn't know exactly. Like, did you want me to do the whole word? So I just actually I didn't bring anything with me, but I did do like the B with the exclamation mark or whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of coming out of it, but yeah, I didn't really finalize anything.
So what? I know we sat and we talked a few times.
Yeah.
I guess as of right now, what do you know about cryptocurrency, and if not just cryptocurrency in general, what do you know about Bitcoin?
Man, I don't know actually. I know zero about it. Man, actually, I was out of town in Colorado. I was riding the train, and then the girl next to me sat next to me, and she was like, we kind of like introduced herself, and she's like, "Oh, I work for Bitcoin," and I was just like, "Hey, Bitcoin, like, okay, cool," like, but I don't know nothing about it. I mean, I see it a lot, like on my social medias and stuff. Like, I mean, people are aware of it. I mean, I guess like people want to get learn more about it, but I don't know nothing about it.
So I know you get paid to paint murals. What if I told you? What if someone said, "Hey, I'll pay you in a Bitcoin"? Well, as of today's price, let's say they said, "Oh, I'll pay you in a Bitcoin," which is anywhere from like $8,000 to $9,000. Not knowing anything about Bitcoin, what would you do in that situation?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I love the opportunity. So I mean, I would go ahead and just go ahead and knock something out for for him or her.
So then, how would you move forward? Like after they say, "All right, so where should I send this Bitcoin?" Then what would you do?
Google. I'm going to research Bitcoin, and I'll be like, "Yo, what exactly is this? I mean, how do I transfer this to the bank?"
Yeah, because it's kind of like if somebody tried to pay you in a gold coin or a silver coin. Like those things actually have value, and some people just may not believe in the value. So that's why I was wondering, because there's a wealth of information. There's also a wealth of misinformation, but really at the end of the day, it's pretty easy to find out. So my goal with you is to get you involved enough in cryptocurrency to where you can engage other people. Like, let's say someone asks you to paint a mural, instead of them saying, "Hey, hit me up on Venmo for like $3,000-$4,000," just say, "Hey, send me half of a Bitcoin, and we'll be square."
Yeah, sounds good.
Because if someone, I was talking to someone earlier, and I was telling them that there was a time that I was going to invest a substantial amount of Bitcoin into cash into Bitcoin, but I had no idea how to get it or even how to turn it into cash once I got it. So I was real nervous about, I don't know, I was just real nervous about moving forward with that situation. I tell you what, okay. I was trying to figure out what's going on. I thought maybe we had Caleb back, but that's gonna take a sec. So next question, I guess, Yikes, is what's the deal with with where you are right now with your art?
Right now, with my art, it's pretty much like a freelance artist. Pretty much. I mean, people want something. People, need something. Just, hit me up. Facebook, Instagram. Text me.
Do you remember? I guess it was about 2 years ago. I was driving down Washington, and I ran into you. You were on side of a building painting.
Right.
You want to tell me about that project?
Yeah, man. Actually, that's I was on Washington. I was painting for a good friend of mine, JR, Sticky Promotions.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I mean, we went to high school together, and he was just like, "Hey, yo, Yikes, man, I need some graffiti. I need some artwork on the outside of my building." He's a club promoter. And I was just like, "Yeah, man, absolutely." So I was like, "Man, what do you want?" He was like, "Man, I want some flames, and I want some kind of outer space." And I'm just like, "Okay, cool." So we pretty much I went out, sized the wall up, and I was just like, "Okay, it's gonna be X amount of dollars." And he was just ran with it. I mean, he was just like, "Okay, cool," and ran with it. And I mean, it was good, And I got some pictures of that,
Was it for Love and Hip Hop?
For the Love and Hip Hop, yeah.
Yeah, Love and Hip Hop Houston. For y'all that don't know, for us that are pretty ratchet in some of the things we do behind the scenes, there was a Love and Hip Hop in Houston. From what I understand, I think we got Caleb back. So I'm going to pull Caleb back up on the screen, and hopefully he's wired into his Cat 5, and we could have, there you go. He's got a green screen behind him and everything. I like where this is going. Is that better? Hang on. You know what? I don't know if you're muted or if it's on my end, but you're there, and you're not moving slow, and you're not pausing, so that's good. No, I think he's on there trying to speak. All right, go ahead and say something. Epic fail. on our part. Actually, yeah, I don't know if you didn't have the microphone. There we go. Gotcha. All right, Caleb. We're going to pretend like none of this ever happened, and we're just going to go straight into you talking about...
I'm wired in now directly to the mainframe, so should be good to go. If you lose contact with me now, then something's wrong with California.
I guess we'll see it on the news. So yeah, there's a glitch in the Matrix. That's all we'll say. But now we're past that glitch. You're going to be Neo. So you got into security.
Yep, got into security, got a job out here reverse engineering malware. On the way there, I heard about Bitcoin probably in like 2010. And I thought it was really cool. Got all the computers I had access to mine it, all the GPUs, started mining it. Mined it for like a week. And I had really bad computers, and I only got like 0.015 Bitcoin or something like that. And I thought, this is never going to work. This is like 15 cents of Bitcoin. I probably just wasted a whole bunch of time and energy and power, and so that was a waste. And this is just nerd money for drugs anyway, so I'm just going to leave it alone. And then I forgot about it for years while I was working out here learning about malware. And then I started seeing ransomware, which is a type of malware that infects your machine, locks up your files so you don't have access to them, and then ransoms them back to you, so you have to pay Bitcoin or some sort of crypto to get it back. And started hearing about that. I'm like, oh, maybe people are taking this seriously, but I didn't really think about it too much. And then I got really into economics. So I started studying the Austrian School of Economics, which is a not very popular school. It's kind of contrarian. It disagrees with a lot of things that mainstream economics. And they have this concept of sound money, which is like gold. Gold is an example of sound money because no one can just make more of it. So I wanted to invest in sound money, the idea of sound money. So I started looking for ways to do that. And I found gold, and I also found Bitcoin. And so I decided, I started to actually understand Bitcoin. I read the white paper, and I got into the technology, and I watched talks of it on YouTube, and I became a true believer, and then I invested a bit into it. And of course, like, it's Bitcoin, so the price goes all over the place, and it gets really exciting. And so I've just spent the past 3 years now, studying everything I can about cryptocurrency, and while maintaining my day job as a malware researcher.
So I guess with you diving so deep into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, when did you get to a point where you're like, you know what, I'm going to figure out a way to integrate my career into blockchain?
Yeah. That video you played, actually, the original version was several minutes long, and it was because I just started to ramble about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. And at the end, they're like, we're going to cut out all that Bitcoin stuff because it's not really relevant. But that was an example of, like, that video was one of the first times I started saying, like, let's combine this cryptocurrency stuff with the stuff we're working on. Like, how can we... And every sort of tech company is trying to do this thing called thought leadership. You hear that a lot. It's called TL, thought leadership. And it's where I think it's a good informal definition is you have smart people who sound like they know what they're talking about. And so they gave me this opportunity to make some videos, and I thought, like, how can I talk about cryptocurrency, which I believe is the future of money, and where does that intersect with malware research? So that video was like one of the first attempts of me doing that. And yeah, I've been writing blogs and talking about it here and there, but yeah, that was the main start, so pretty recently.
So the man edited you. You were censored, essentially. You weren't censored. You were allowed to say what you wanted to say, and then they're like, okay, we're just going to edit this out, which is fine. I mean, I understand because you work for that company, and if they don't want to represent it, that's one thing, but you could definitely do it in your personal life. Now, it's funny how you're talking about malware. When you were getting reconnected, I was talking about being a victim of malware and ransomware myself. Sometimes we try to get free movies or go to web pages that seem to have a wealth of information, and if you have a pretty decent antivirus or firewall or whatever, you'll get these notifications like, we just quarantined this file, or potential attack, so on and so forth. So I can tell you that I upgraded to Malwarebytes Business Edition on one of my PCs, and I ran a scan. And what was crazy is I found a file that was embedded onto my computer to hijack my CPU and my GPU operating power and contribute to someone else's Bitcoin mining operation. Have you ever heard of anything like that before, or am I just making that up?
Oh yeah, we definitely heard of that Bitcoin mining malware. Probably the first time I saw that, I was working at Lookout, which is a mobile security. So they do Android stuff, and we found, or I found this like SDK, which is like it's a software package you add to your application. And it like gives you some extra features and some abilities. It basically makes it so that you don't have to reinvent everything. You can just pull in someone else's code and have flashy graphics and cool stuff in your app. And they had this really sneaky little thing. They would download extra code that wasn't part of the SDK. They didn't tell you they were doing it. And the code had Bitcoin mining stuff on it. And so at a push of a button, they could turn your apps, which you don't know it's there, your users don't know it's there, but when their code connects to their servers would send some extra code down, which would start mining Bitcoin. And there was some other malware that did that too, where it would say like completely different malware family. It would check to see if your phone was plugged in because they didn't want you to run out of battery, and they would check a few other things like if the battery had 50% charge, and it would start mining Bitcoin or Litecoin or something. And you started to see like criminals were thinking like, how can we make money off of this? Like, how can we do something naughty with this new type of technology? I don't think they ever really made much money with mobile stuff. We've also seen the same thing in PC malware.
So, for those of you who don't know, SDK is a software development kit. Software development kit you normally get with Android and Apple iOS. So that's stuff that people use on the back end to get access to coding. Like typically when we deal on the blockchain, we use something like GitHub and open source software. But in order to make something for Android or a specific type of operating system, you have to get their software development kit. And so what he's saying is people are creating these applications that injects the malware into it with different different stipulations, like you said, determine if your phone's plugged in, not wanting to run your battery, not interfering with your microphone or any video footage that you're taking. And I swear to you, I honestly think that my phone has one right now because my phone has been running incredibly slow, and I'm considering just wiping it and starting all over again. But
there's something else too, like if you go to the Pirate Bay right now, which is a website that I'm sure you're aware of if you're talking about getting games and movies.
I use it.
So
I've heard of it before.
Yeah. If you go to the Pirate Bay and other sites like that, you might notice if you're on a laptop, the fans just start going crazy. And if you look at your process monitor, you look at what's using up all of your processing power, you'll see like that the web browser is using up all of your cores on all of your CPUs, and it's just going crazy. If you look into the code, there's a JavaScript code that's mining cryptocurrency. It's really easy. You can download, like you were describing, you download an SDK, add it to your website, configure a little bit of stuff. You can get it started in like 20, 30 minutes, add it to any website, and boom, you're mining cryptocurrency from every machine that visits your site. And the Pirate Bay, they don't lie about it. They're like, hey, we're going to use your computers to mine cryptocurrency because it's really expensive to be this illegal on the internet. People try to shut us down all the time, and we need lawyers and stuff. And so it's like an interesting way of monetizing a site.
Yeah, so, that's crazy. It makes sense. I mean, it does make sense. Every time I go to, or every time in the past, that I've gone to the Pirate Bay or TPB, or even YTS. If anybody knows what YTS is, I'll run it on Linux or something. I'll run it on some other computer. I'll run it on something that has very little power, and and typically on someone else's network, just so I know, because I already know what's going on. I did not know, however, about the mining of the cryptocurrency by utilizing other people's system. So that's news to me, and I think I'm going to start doing view source so I can see these JavaScripts that are running in the background on these illegal websites.
Oh yeah, one more little story. Like one of the contractors who was set up to maintain, I believe it was Starbucks' website. So like they get a couple visitors, they get a couple people going to their site. Well, one of the people monitoring or maintaining the website added in a little bit of code to start mining stuff, and that was in the news. So it's not just shady websites, but people who might maintain websites that are really popular can sort of sneak something in and try to collect a bunch of CPU resources. Maybe I don't know how much money they're making. I don't think it's very much, but I think you're going to see people playing with that more.
Yeah. So I guess in a situation like that, would that be considered illegal? Because technically, you're not stealing, you're temporarily utilizing. So do you understand the laws behind malware and ransomware? And I guess how that ties into something such as interjecting code to mine Bitcoin or any crypto?
As far as it being illegal, I'm not a lawyer, but I would say probably not. Like it's probably pretty hard to classify that as illegal. But we call it in the industry, we call that resource theft, because you're stealing someone's CPU resources, so you're indirectly stealing, power, electricity. That if they had a bunch of machines running your miners, then that's your power bill is going to go up. You might be able to make a case for it, but the problem with all malware, doesn't matter how illegal malware is, the problem is finding who actually made it and released it, tracking them down. They're usually in like Eastern Europe or China or somewhere without extradition laws, and even if you knew exactly who they were and where they lived, it's very hard to prosecute.
Yeah, I think that would be something difficult to prosecute because in a way, it is a victimless crime because it's only of course, there's a victim, your computer and your electricity and so on and so forth, but I can't imagine that someone goes to TPB or Starbucks website and just sit there, all day. I know some people will open up a browser and get called into a meeting and let it sit there, but ultimately, you go to Starbucks to find a location or to buy a gift card, and then you leave. But I guess as far as resource theft, as you called it, and that makes you question the security of sharing your information over these platforms as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because all it takes is someone in the supply chain from, this goes back to one of my previous jobs where we looked at security for open source code. And most software projects use open source code, like a lot of it, or most code from every program is going to be from open source components, so like SDKs. And if any person who's maintaining those projects is malicious and decides to add something sneaky in there, then you could have something that's compromised. We've actually seen stories like that play out. So yeah, it's a dangerous world and the sky is falling, so wear a helmet.
Well, yeah, I only wear a helmet. Actually, I don't think I ever wear a helmet. Now I want to ask, yikes, seeing how cryptocurrency and all this stuff is so new to you, are there any, what have you picked up on so far?
I guess the future of money, future of money. So I don't know. I guess I'm thinking. So we're gonna get rid of like paper. We're gonna start using like this. I guess the social internet.
No. So think of it like okay. I know you use Venmo. A lot of people use PayPal. We have debit cards. There's online banking. So although that's tied to the USD, that's still digital currency. It's digital currency that's backed by a fiat, but when you deal with blockchain, it's a digital currency that's decentralized, and it's not backed by a government or a Federal Reserve or gold. It's not a hard asset. So it's the same concept of the way you do transactions. It's just using a different currency.
Okay.
Yeah.
So So say, for instance, I could sell something and then be like, just go ahead and Bitcoin me. And I mean, how much is one Bitcoin, or what is it? Like, is it?
Okay, so
equal to
Caleb,
$1?
he asked how much one Bitcoin is. Why don't you go ahead and explain that to him?
Yeah, so the price of one Bitcoin, this is sort of, I guess you would call this a red herring. I heard some people talking today when I went to go get coffee. They were like, oh, I can't afford a whole Bitcoin, so I'm not going to invest in it. And there's this idea of like, you need one whole Bitcoin. But the cool thing is, like, it's designed to get broken up into like billions of tiny little pieces, which is going to make pricing difficult, because instead of saying this is $10, it's going to be 0.000152789 Bitcoin. I'm not sure how we're going to solve that. But like right now, the price, well, I haven't checked in the past 30 minutes, so the price of Bitcoin could be wildly different than what it was this morning. But it's around like $8,200 right now.
For
Um,
one Bitcoin?
Yeah, one Bitcoin is $8,200. Now, what he's saying about how some people, actually right now, based on Coinbase, it's 81. So it looks like it's dropped a little bit. But I can tell you that this morning I ended up, with $400 extra dollars. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take that out. But as you can see, I HODL, but, just a little. But so ultimately what he's saying is people see this price of Bitcoin is we'll just round it to $8,000. And people think, I don't have enough money to buy a Bitcoin. Well, in fact, you don't have to look at Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as being used as as being purchased as one piece. You can see as fractional. You can see it as something that you could fractionally get. So if you bought one Bitcoin at a penny, it's worth $8,000 now. Now, if you spend $10, like you said now, then you only have a fraction of what a Bitcoin is worth. So I would say it's probably the equivalent of taking a silver coin and breaking it up in a whole bunch of pieces. You put it on the scale, and that ounce is still worth the same value.
Right. Okay.
So it's that's a good way of explaining it, right?
Yeah, I appreciate it.
No, I'm just, I'm trying to show people that I'm not as ignorant as I pretend to be half the time. So, I know when you made the video for SentinelOne, they were like, nah, maybe we shouldn't, go so much into this whole Bitcoin thing. What do you think it's going to take to convince them? Because if a company like that can start offering malware protection and antivirus protection, and explaining to people, okay, look, this is what's going on. There's resource theft that's happening in the background. Your company really has an opportunity to be on the forefront of offering security against this type of stuff that we're talking about, these types of malware and ransomware attacks.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, Bitcoin, it's pretty cool, like watching people take it seriously. It went from being a thing that everyone made fun of to just the other day I was in a meeting where we're talking about how we can improve our engine to automatically detect miners. So we could get a file, we don't know anything about it, but just by watching what it does when it runs, we can tell if it's a miner, if it's mining cryptocurrency. And since most of our customers are enterprise, they probably don't want Bitcoin miners on their system, and if they're there, it's probably because someone snuck them on there or someone accidentally downloaded some malware. So we're rolling out features, as we speak, to detect resource theft, cryptocurrency resource theft, and to detect miners. Even just by looking at the file and not even watching it run, we're adding features so that we can say, this file looks like a Bitcoin miner. You probably want to delete it. And also we're getting asked, like, hey, there's all these cryptocurrency businesses out there, and we're not just in the business of, I call it antivirus, but our marketing department's like, don't call it antivirus. It's endpoint protection. It basically means, like, we don't just delete malware. No one in the industry just deletes malware anymore. What we do is we try to minimize risk. So any sort of threats that you might have, we want to be able to help you with that. And that's what, everyone in the industry is doing that. I'm not just trying to sell SentinelOne here. And you have, like, all new risk surfaces now. You have these exchanges, you have these businesses that are running hot wallets with millions or bajillions of cryptocurrency on it, and it's a massive incentive for attackers to come in and steal. So what can we do to help mitigate those risks? And it's still like an open area of research. There's still like the industry hasn't even decided what best practices are. Most people don't even know like how to properly sweep funds into a cold storage wallet at the end of the day. And like there's just like a ton of ignorance on how to do things securely. So it's a very much an open area of investigation, how to secure against these types of threats.
Okay, so that's got me thinking. One of the things that I'm really big into is promoting entrepreneurship. I like to see people start something and work for themselves. And I honestly think that your take on this situation and this industry, there's a niche that you have. I honestly think that you could probably start a business that focuses on endpoint protection. We won't say antivirus, but endpoint protection, which focuses on blockchain technology and like you were saying, that's sweeping these networks to find this and protect people from it. Because honestly, one of the computers that I had that I found this virus on it's a pretty decent PC. You know, two 1080p NVIDIA, and it was an i7. Just something I built to do virtual reality. But occasionally I just get on there and search the web. And obviously with some of my web searching habits that put me at risk. No, I'm not talking pornography, but I'm just just saying, like, when I get on that PC and start looking up information about like just looking up blockchain, Bitcoin, and cryptocurrency information, that's when I would start getting these pop-ups and these messages from Malwarebytes letting me know, like, hey, something's going on with your PC. So although they offer that, I researched the file to figure out what it was, because malware didn't tell me what it was, you know. So, and I think not everybody does that. Some people just hit the quarantine button or the clean button. I like to go through and see if I don't know what it is. I'll write it down. I'll research it. I'll be like, all right, I need to make sure I put this in a folder to where I'm always protected from this moving forward.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's what enterprise customers do. Whenever they have an infection, big companies will have entire teams that look into what the infection was, what it did, how far did it get, what information did it steal, where did it come from, what are some other threats, like is this a big thing, should we update all of our servers, should we change something? It's a big kerfuffle every time they get an infection. You know, usually the bigger the company, the more seriously they take security. I think it's a good practice in general because you want to know at least a little bit about what the malware was, what might have happened. There might be more somewhere hiding.
So what do you think about the idea of you starting something on your own? Or do you do that type of programming, or is that something you just kind of have to delegate the task to someone else?
Well, you know, in today's environment, I don't really have to do anything. I could just make a company, put the word blockchain and security in it, and then raise, you know, $100 million with an ICO and then never make anything. So, yeah, that's one way of doing it. That'd probably work. Yeah, the other way would be maybe not so much like software that you would run on the endpoint, but I definitely see, like, if you understand security and you understand cryptocurrency, I think there's a lot of room for consulting, where companies they're curious about Bitcoin. They've heard of these opportunities. There's this new wave of innovation. They don't want to get left out. You know, they don't want to be Blockbuster. They don't want to be Kodak. Well, you know, they want to be on the next wave of innovation. And it's really hard to understand cryptocurrency. It's really complicated right now. This is like the internet in the 80s. If you wanted to email someone in the 80s, like that was not easy. There was no Gmail back then. And so you need consultants, I think, to help come in, help establish best practices, help educate your security team. Yeah, I definitely think there's room for that. Maybe not so much on the software side of things, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, well, that's something I definitely like to see come to fruition. There's another guy that's here in the studio, and I think you should tell him about what you're doing. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to him and let you let you tell him about what you're doing there in San Francisco. I think he has a pretty keen interest.
Hey, Caleb.
Hello.
This is Hammock House. How are you?
Hey, Brandon. How's it going?
Doing good.
Did not expect to see you here, or hear you here.
Yeah, just popped in. I happened to be in H-Town, so I thought I'd swing by and hear what kind of things you were talking about today.
Mo City. Yeah, I'm living in California, but I should say I grew up in Texas, and I still very much consider myself a Texan at heart. I don't plan on living in California forever. I want to move back to Texas as soon as I make this funny California money. The rent here is
With some of the
crazy.
magic internet money.
Yeah, the rents in Houston are like some of the lowest in the country. They have some. I think they have some of the best laws regarding housing there.
And the best prices. We have some pretty decent
Yep.
prices. So like whatever you're making there I think will do really well here. In fact, my neighbor came and bought his house cash from California. He was, and I'm
Yeah, I
like,
know
really?
that.
Like that's how you guys are doing it? I should have just left and went to New York or California, and then moved back to the South where I could do something like that. I'm not complaining though. I'm doing all right.
Yeah. Well, what do you want me to say?
Well, I was just trying to get him on because he's very shy. I mean, he's a man of many words, but he tends to shy away from the camera. He is Amish, so for those of you that don't know, there are Amish people in Texas, and it took a lot to get him here. But I do want to thank you, Caleb, for coming on. And once the show's finished, I'm going to contact you personally so we can kind of finish up some of the things we were talking about. But I think we definitely touched on the importance of finding security in this new, this new place, because the same way you said criminals are like, hey, here's a way that I can easily make some money on this new platform. Security companies have to think like them and figure out ways to circumvent whatever creative ways they've come up to make money, break the law, utilize people's systems, and so on and so forth.
Caleb, I'd be curious to hear if you've heard of any accounts specifically with the trading platforms as far as hacks go, and what type of things should we be worried about as people who are on exchanges out there, and what we can do to protect ourselves since we have this know your client sort of situation set up. Do you have any input on what we as an end user can actually do to protect ourselves from being hacked on some of these exchanges?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. I mean, Bitcoin is one of the cool things that cryptocurrency does is it allows for financial sovereignty. You are as responsible as you want to be for your own money. And there's a saying about exchanges, not your wallet, not your Bitcoin. So when you have money on an exchange, you are trusting them to not get hacked. So it does, the blockchain won't get hacked, Ethereum won't get hacked, Bitcoin probably won't get hacked, but the exchange much more likely will. I mean, if you remember Mt. Gox, which is a
Indeed.
magic, yeah. So quick recap there. You have a site written in PHP, which is for trading Magic, Magic the Gathering cards, and then they start dealing with cryptocurrency, and very soon they become a huge target to cyber criminals. They're dealing with millions and millions of dollars worth of crypto assets, and whenever you have a concentrated incentive, the attackers only have to compromise one system to break into that exchange and get all the money there. If everyone kept all of their wallets private and all of their crypto on their wallets, then attackers would have to, break into each individual person. It distributes the risk. So definitely, I would encourage people to not leave more money than they can afford to lose on an exchange. So if, your whole life savings is on an exchange, then I would consider very carefully going through the trouble, and it is trouble, learning how to deal with a hardware wallet, learning how to deal with a paper wallet, getting some physical security at home, like a safe, like a fireproof safe, and putting all of your crypto stuff in there. So personally, what I do is I have a hardware wallet, and I have, which is basically like a software wallet, but I keep most of my crypto on the hardware wallet, and I keep that in a fireproof safe, and I have a backup of the wallet on paper in Texas, actually, stored securely from someone I trust very much. So if I ever lose my hardware wallet, I'll have that as a backup. And it takes a while to learn all of these things and to learn best practices, but I would definitely encourage someone to look into it and educate themselves, because crypto is really about personal responsibility.
You know what? Hearing you talk about the safe, I do not have a hardware wallet, but I do have a paper wallet, and I have a fireproof safe that has some guns, some silver,
Of course.
and what else? Yeah, a few paper wallets, and then of course I have some hash keys saved on some USB 3.1s or 3.0s. So, but it's funny to hear you say that, because initially I didn't really care, and then eventually, I remember one time I lost my hash key and I had to go and find it, and it took me a while to find it. And I was like, you know what? I need to print this out, put it in multiple places. So I printed it out and I put it in my safe, and then I put it on a flash drive, put it in a safe, along with everything else I have. So that's kind of funny that you say that, but it's true. It is a thing about personal responsibility, because I was asked to utilize an exchange to test it. It's called TradeQuick, and it was on the Viva platform. I think $20 was all that I sent, because I'm a skeptical individual. And needless to say, it turned out that there was some high level of embezzlement and mismanagement of funds and so on and so forth. So this nice little $20 of mine I lost. Well, in fact, when I sent it, it was worth $20 less than $1. So once this came to light, it was probably like $70 or $80. But still, I learned a valuable lesson, and I was still trying to figure out, how can I get my few bucks back? But just given everything that had gone on with this exchange, I didn't even want to bother logging in from my computer, putting my password back in, and sharing any wallet information. And I just I considered it a loss.
Yep. And if you're dealing with altcoins, it's even harder, because a lot of altcoins aren't very mature software-wise. So you have to go to a GitHub page and download source code and compile the wallet yourself, because there are no wallets, or there are no hardware wallets that support it. And the more fringe the altcoin, the more difficult it is technically, and the more tempting it is to leave your money on an exchange.
Awesome. Well, Caleb, is there anything you'd like to leave us with? Yes. You got to tell us, where can we find you on Twitter, on social media, and if you don't have a Steemit profile, you definitely have to get one, and I'll show you how to get one offline. But if you do have one, tell us your username.
I don't have a Steemit profile, tisk, I suppose, but my Twitter handle is @Caleb_Fenton. You can hit me up there if you have Bitcoin questions or malware questions. Feel free to hit me up.
Awesome. Hey, I want to thank you for taking the time and sharing it with us. It was definitely educational on my part, and I would definitely say so with the listeners. So I'm going to have you back. I think we need to do more security updates. That's probably just as important as covering the prices. So I think we need to make this a more consistent thing, to have you come on, and we can talk about things to look for.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks for having me. You're welcome.
All right. Thanks, Caleb.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys. So we're gonna take a little break here for a moment. We're gonna cover some of the latest in Bitcoin news, and when we'll come back, I'll have Johnny Clearwater from Steemit. He's got some pretty cool projects on the horizon, and really excited about sharing those with you. At least I'm excited about sharing them with you, and hearing more about them. So.
$1 in total market cap on fears of regulatory crackdowns and perhaps price manipulation. Bitcoin at one point today was down nearly 15%, dropping below 7,700. Ron Neuner is the founder of On-Chain Capital, the host of CNBC Africa's Crypto Trader, which is the only show out there devoted to cryptocurrencies. He's also, by the way, an investor in cryptocurrencies. Ron, great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you in EC. In terms of the price swings that we've seen, you actually said that you thought we'd see 7,500. We did, basically, and we bounced. What was it about that level, and do you think that will hold?
Look, I've been tracking Bitcoin since last year, and we went up from 7,500 up to 20,000 in anticipation of the futures. The futures were kind of like a non-event. The event was a momentum play where people started to get into cryptocurrencies. So you had these people, these retail investors, getting into cryptocurrencies for possibly all the wrong reasons. They got into it because of the fear of missing out. They got into it because they wanted to get in to make the money without understanding the technology. And the market went up. But then the market started to come down. And then everyone who didn't understand the technology turned around and said, hold on, what did we actually back here?
So is 7,500 the level at which you think a lot of weak hands, so to speak, got in, and so now they're shaken out, so 7,500 is that support?
I think they got in pretty high, but I think between 10,000 and 7,500 was the exit point for them. And I think that what you can see now is that the market's starting to recover a little bit. So I'm expecting the market to hover here for a little bit nervous, and then I'm expecting some kind of something to bring up a green candle, and that will start the momentum back up again.
It's been a terrible week for Bitcoin in general. You've said that you believe Bitcoin is a store of value. Is it still a store of value if it goes down with every other asset class? It's obviously being seen as any other risk asset out there which is being sold off, whether it be stocks or bonds or gold.
It's a store of value, but it's a new store of value, and there's not mass market adoption yet. And as we get mass market adoption, then we can expect for it to become the universal store of value. But I always say, if we're going out to run a marathon, we've just parked our car and picked up the goodie bag. We haven't even got to the start line of cryptocurrencies. The technology isn't ready to go mainstream yet. It's very hard to open an account. It's unscalable. So yes, there is a new digital gold, a new digital store of value. I think Bitcoin is the store of value, but the game hasn't even started yet.
I wanted to ask you, do you think governments ultimately will sit by and watch Bitcoin rival their currencies, the euro, the yen, the dollar?
I think when you start discussing currencies, that becomes different. And I think in time, yes, governments are going to have to accept a new form of digital currencies, and who knows what that will do. But I don't believe that Bitcoin today, as it stands, is a currency. I believe that today, Bitcoin is actually a store of value. And then the question is...
Hold on. If I started off the year and agreed to work the year for 6 Bitcoin, I was making 120 grand. Now I'm making, what, 50 grand? So as a store of value for my labor, the value of Bitcoin just got cut more in half. So it ain't storing any value for me.
Yes, it has, because if you started off last year with Bitcoin, you would have started at $900, and you still would be 10x up. Now, I look at your board over there. I don't see any stocks that are 10x up since last year. So it just depends on a time frame. You've picked the worst 30 days that we've seen in Bitcoin's 2-year history.
Store of value doesn't cut my salary in half in a year.
To be fair, gold is viewed as a store of value, and that price fluctuates as well. Maybe
I don't think as much as that.
Not as much as that.
I think a store of value has a certain consistency.
We got to leave it there.
Debate continues.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching. For small businesses and businesses in general, when do they have to have a Bitcoin strategy? Mike?
Not in our lifetime.
For real? Really?
Bitcoin is not, forget about whether you think it's a fraud, whether you think it's a game and tulip bulbs or not. The small businesses have to worry about how they're going to attract 5 people to produce a product, how they're going to figure out how to sell it and keep the door open and clean up at the end of the day. Small businesses are where the rubber meets the road. They're not dealing in extensive financial transactions. They're dealing in trying to create products that people want to buy. And it's one person selling to one person, much more so than all of the things we talk about.
So let's broaden that out, Lloyd. You have not rejected or endorsed Bitcoin, okay? But when does Goldman have to have a Bitcoin strategy?
Have to have it?
Yeah.
Not today. I mean, I said when. I'd say life must be really, really rosy if this is what we're talking about. It just feels...
This is what Wall Street's talking. Okay, so I was talking to Jeff Curry over at Goldman the other day, and he said the only thing that people are asking him are Bitcoin and EVs. So you're a huge investment bank. You have to be
must be
thinking
really
about
rosy
this.
if this is... Yes, I'm thinking about it because I get asked about it. I said, look, where I am is it's not for me, but there's a lot of things that weren't for me in the past that worked out very well. If you told me that if it was 20 years forward and it worked out, I could tell you why it worked out. But based on everything I know, I'm not guessing that it will work out. But I can't say, I'm not going to stand there and be strident and say it's a fraud. It can't, because it might.
Alex, I think also people confuse Bitcoin with BitChain. There is a blockchain. There is a technology where you can have different accesses to data. Different people can control it. You can see who's doing what and that sort of thing. And there are places where that is a useful thing. In fact, the Bloomberg system is a blockchain. We just, instead of having the users control it, we control it. But it has all the attributes of that. Bitcoin is something very different. Bitcoin, and there's a whole bunch of cryptocurrencies that have been started every day. You have a new one. That's something very different, and whether or not the governments of the world will lose control of monetary policy, I'm skeptical. They're just not going to let that happen, and they shouldn't.
Something that moves up and down 20% in a day doesn't feel like a current, doesn't feel like a store
and it's
value.
just being quoted up and down. There's no value.
Maybe not a currency, but Jeff Curry told me it was a commodity, and that goes to your expertise, Lloyd. You grew up in the commodity business. So talk to me about what are the unregulated trading world of Bitcoin? Like, where's the fraud going to come?
The whole concept is, I don't, well, first of all,
but is it buyer, is it seller, is it price discovery? Like, where's the risk there in the financial
one of the main uses of Bitcoin is as a vehicle for perpetrating fraud. I mean, because you can't trace it. There's no payment.
So is cash sometimes.
So is cash, but guess what? It's hard to accumulate cash sometimes.
Yeah, but the world is going in a different direction, if you think about it. Go look in China, where they're basically getting rid of cash. Everybody is paying with their smartphones. People who are begging in the streets have a little sign next to where they're sitting in the streets. These are people who really need help from society. Instead, they're sitting there begging for money. They have a sign with a code on it, a QR code. If you want to give them money, you point your cell phone at the QR code, hit a button, and they have a bank account. And that's the way they're getting their money. China is heading in the direction, and they've gone a very large way, as is India starting to do the same thing, of getting rid of cash. And one of the reasons is that you can then stop the black market and stop the drug dealers, and you can track where all the currency is going. We're not going to go in a different direction. Now, America may not be ready to go there, although we're going to be left behind if we don't, because this is a much more efficient ways of paying for goods and services.
So, Lloyd, that's
they're also going to know what everybody's doing with their money.
Of course they're going to know, but Google already knows exactly what you're doing.
And Amazon, by the way.
Complains at Amazon. Nobody complains about that.
But, Lloyd, so that raises the question. You have to be thinking about an investment banking strategy with Bitcoin. I can't believe that you're not.
No, I don't have to be thinking about it.
You want to tell me that you're not talking to any of your guys?
What?
You're not talking to your guys about what the strategy is going to be.
But it was spending too. It's just, we'll see. If it works out and it gets more established and it trades like a store of value and it doesn't move down 20%.
Johnny Clearwater, I'm just letting you know that you're on hold, okay?
We'll get to it, but you asked
all right, so we'll hit you back in a minute.
When do small business people have to think about their Bitcoin strategy? I'd worry about opening the doors, producing things that people want to buy, dealing with their business planning.
Cryptocurrency is a medium of exchange of digital currency. Some people say that it's the currency of the future. I say it's the currency of now. All right, guys. Hey, it's Crypto Talk Live. I'm your host, Ryan Brown. You can find me on Steemit, Extraordinary Pilot, Twitter, Extraordinary Pilot, and it's misspelled. So don't try spelling it correctly, but you can still find me there. So on the second half of the show, like I like to have Steemians on, and I like to talk about projects that they're doing, their experience on Steemit, and that's a common place for a lot of people on the blockchain to interact. So today I'm going to talk to Johnny Clearwater, and I got a little clip. Johnny seems to have his own little show and segment that he's doing, so I'm going to play a clip from his show before we get him on.
Which one? Hold on. The one you told me to download?
Mm-hmm. Well, while we're getting that up, I'll just kind of give you an idea. I think it's pretty funny. And also tell you about Steemit. If you don't know, here I'm wearing a Steem shirt. That's the currency that we use. Steemit is the platform that we use. And that's Steemit. And that's a place where you can go and blog, and you get paid for blogging, creating content, for curating, for voting. So it's definitely a really cool place for people to get introduced, into cryptocurrency. In fact, that was, although I had been teetering on the edge of doing crypto, like dabbling in cryptocurrency, it wasn't until I started earning it on Steemit did I start buying other cryptocurrencies, engaging with other people, learning, and asking some of the questions that I know some people are intimidated or afraid to ask. So we're going to go ahead and get that video playing for you now.
How's it going, everybody? I'm Johnny Clearwater, and I'm proud to be here today to celebrate my first 6 months on Steemit. Steemit is hands down the best social media platform I've ever had the opportunity to be a part of. Not only have I come across some of the best content on the internet, met some really incredible creators, and started a few fun projects of my own, but Steemit also introduced me to both cryptocurrency and the wonders of blockchain technology. It's been a true game changer, to say the least. To celebrate my 6-month anniversary, I'm holding an open casting call for my newest project, Hots or Shots. Hots or Shots is an interview series with a small twist. With the help of my wife, I'll be starting in the United States and traveling around the world to meet and interview fellow Steemians in person. Each interview will consist of 10 completely random, open-ended questions. A coin toss will determine if that episode will be Hots or Shots. If the coin says Hots, we'll be eating progressively spicier foods before each question. If the coin lands on Shots, well, we're going to be doing shots of liquor. Everyone that appears on Hots or Shots will receive a cool Hots or Shots t-shirt like the one you see here, as well as an awesome Hots or Shots etched shot glass, like this one right here. Very nice. Very nice. I'm currently seeking 6 to 10 Steemians that reside in the state of Florida. Once those episodes are done, I'll then be moving on to Georgia as I continue through the states. The only requirement of being a participant on Hots or Shots is that you must be at least 21 years old. If you'd like to be a part of this project, simply let me know in the comments down below. Well, that's it for today. Please don't forget to upvote, re-steam, and follow. Hope everyone's having a fantastic day, and steam on.
So there you have it, Hots or Shots. I like the idea. First of all, I'm from Louisiana. So we love our Tabasco, we love our hot sauce. I moved here to Texas, and God knows there's a lot of Mexicans out here, and jalapenos are on everything. And then I love liquor. I like Buffalo Trace and the whole nine. So I'm all about this Hots or Shots thing. So Johnny Clearwater, go ahead and let us know what's up.
Hey man, how's it going?
I am doing well. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Can't believe that was the video clip you used, but
well, it celebrated your.
That was a real fucking headache to record. I must have tried recording that like 60 times. It was so bad, like just sitting in front of the camera and recording yourself and then watching it and going and it's like, oh, that was so bad. It was terrible. In regards to that video. Also, so I didn't even do what I said I was going to do. I didn't even start in Florida. I started right over there by you guys. I filmed my first 5 episodes just a week and a half ago in Austin, Texas.
In Austin.
Yep, I went to Austin and filmed my first 5 episodes there. And apparently, if the guest is right, you don't need to be 21 either. I made an exception, and I realized if I limited it to past the coin flip and they just get the torture of the Hots, but yeah.
So check this out. You know Papa Pepper, right? Papa Pepper, one of the most popular content creators on Steemit. So he came to my house, and he and my sons had a hot sauce challenge. Well, it wasn't really a challenge. We just whipped out some shot glasses, and they filled them up with hot sauce. And so you have an 11-year-old, a 7-year-old, and then you have his like 5-year-old and him, and I'm a spectator. I'm like, you know what, guys? I'm more behind the scenes type of guy when it comes to taking shots of hot sauce. So I'll better serve this project by filming it. So yeah, actually, I think that's kind of funny that that's the thing that you're taking on because yeah, we got a little taste of the hot sauce thing. So I'm not sure how well I do with your challenge.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned Papa Pepper. My very next trip, which is going to be just in a few weeks from now, is to Missouri, and I'll be doing episodes with Papa Pepper, Winston Wolf, Psycho Chica, and Gifted Geico.
I might have to just roll up to the Ozarks and bring a little Texas there.
You know, I tried to get a hold of you, man. I wanted to have you on the show. I absolutely, I sent you some messages. I tagged you in. As a matter of fact, I had posted that I was going to Austin, and I tagged you in that. I spammed in one of your comments, and yeah, no luck, man. I had no luck getting a hold of you.
Yeah, man.
I had full intention.
I'm not normally that elusive, but I was helping at the opening of a restaurant, which is pretty labor intensive and kind of requires you almost 24 hours. So I was off of Steemit for like 2 months. I think I'd get on, and I ended up delegating my steam power to someone else, and I would get on and collect my rewards occasionally. So it's and I really wish that Steemit had a feature that when someone tagged you in something, that you'd know exactly where to go to find it. Because sometimes you have to, it requires a little bit. Go ahead.
Let me interject real quick. Do you use Android or Apple?
I use Android, and I have the eSteam app.
So this is for anybody that happens to be watching that is a Steemit user. If you have an Apple phone, there is an incredible app named Steemify that does exactly what you just said. It's created by a new witness, a relatively new witness. They're already in the top 50 though. Block Brothers, a handful of guys in the Netherlands, one of which I'm working on. He's a partner with me on the arcade thing I'm doing. But they have an app, but unfortunately they don't have an Android version yet, so I can't help you there. I have an odd request of you, if possible.
Let's do it.
So I'm on. You got me on Skype here. Can you turn on so I can see you? Because all I'm staring at is myself in a circle that says Motive Radio.
Are you able to turn it on? Because the only other way is because I see you, but we're using our platform, so you either need another computer or another phone to go to the website or the Facebook page and watch it live. So anybody who's watching right now can actually see you.
Oh yeah, no, I can. I imagine that. I just can't see you, and it's weird. It's weird having a conversation staring at myself.
I just wondered. That explains why our last guest, Caleb. You know how blind people just kind of move their eyes around, and yeah.
You won't get that out of me because I saw you, and I was like, I wasn't going to let you get away with none of you being the only one wearing hats and sunglasses. So.
Did you? I'm not sure if you got to see the first episode, but the first episode, everyone that was in here had a hat and shades. It was Papa Pepper, Hammock House, myself, and
this is the first time I've actually seen an episode. So.
Yeah, and Bluer Than Green. Well, we all showed up in hats and shades, and we were getting a lot of phone calls of people asking, like, what is it? Is it bright in there? I mean, it's Texas. It's always hot. It's always bright. So I want to talk about some of your projects. Yeah, sorry I can't fulfill that request. I wish I could, but.
Oh yeah, no, I had to ask though. But now I know why that guy was able to interact. It's your fault.
So let's talk about the store. Before we get to your new project, I want to talk about the store that you have. Could you tell us?
Steam.shop.
Steam.shop. Tell us about Steam.shop.
So it's not steam rolling yet, but it's something that myself and Steemit QA put together. Basically, what we're doing. See, I've been running a pixel art contest on Steemit pretty much since I've joined, and it's allowed me to become friends with and touch base with a lot of really good artists on the platform. And I saw an opportunity there to be able to create some really cool merchandise, designed by these artists on Steemit. So I partnered up with Steemit QA, and we built a website. And basically, what we do is, we get in touch with talented artists on Steemit. We have them do designs for us. We apply those designs upon a ton of different merchandise, and then it's for sale. With Steam or SPD, you can purchase it directly.
Okay, and so how's the money split up between the artist and the shop owner?
So we only keep 15%. 85% goes to the artist. Standard distribution industry rates are 30%, but we weren't looking to make a bunch of money off somebody else's back. Obviously, we need something because we put the time and the work to decide and spend the time getting the artwork and everything in there. So we had to get something, but we only keep 15%, 85% goes to the artists.
Okay, so I actually have, you were watching earlier, I have an artist who's in the studio right now. He's very well respected in the Houston scene. I dig his artwork. I've been seeing it my whole life. And I'm going to ask him really quick, Yikes, does something like that appeal to you? Like the fact that we have this platform where artists can put their artwork up and put it on the website, an e-commerce website, and people can buy it, whether it be a shirt or just anything that you create can go to this guy's shop and just make you money residually, passively actually. How does something like that sound to you?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm all about it. So I mean, you want something or whatever, I mean, I pretty much already have product already ready to go. So, I mean, as soon as you need something, let me know.
So I think
absolutely. One thing I gotta chime in is he did say anything, and that's not 100% correct.
Making me a liar, man. Making me a liar.
Our work needs to be approved. Well, I mean, I like anybody that might be watching it or for themselves. It's important that they know. I don't accept any and all artwork. I am picky. I do want decent quality product in the store. I don't require that people only make Steemit related stuff, although we do ask that they make at least one Steemit related design of some sort.
Okay.
From that point, they can have anything. And yeah, we handle everything. We handle the shipping. We handle the merchandise. Basically, we're more or less like the Teespring for Steemit. You know, we have the third party involved where they provide mugs and towels and shirts and hoodies and cell phone cases, and we just take your designs, we put them up, we set it all up on the site, and that's it. We just run it from there.
Okay. So yeah, because I really want to get Yikes involved in cryptocurrency. I know he's got an interest in it, and obviously Bitcoin is like the mecca, if you will. That's kind of the first thing that everybody hears about. But I know that Steemit is like an easy way to not dive in, but an easy way to ease your way into crypto. And yeah, I'm going to see what I can do about getting you guys linked. Yeah, getting him.
It definitely can be a good entry point. I'll tell you that. If you're a wasteful content creator, then the odds are no. You're not gonna do real well on Steemit. I mean, it is for content creation. I mean, all of us that are on Steemit have seen plenty of accounts that are complete crap and still manage to do well, but it's few and far in between.
I only say meat.
As an artist, you definitely have a huge opportunity. You use Steemit. Well, I didn't know anything about cryptocurrency or blockchain technology, and Steemit was the introduction for me to that completely. And I've built a pretty large portfolio of cryptocurrencies off of what I've made on Steemit.
Exactly. I can definitely say, I started off with nothing but an interest. But then once I got on Steemit, I was able to build a very diversified portfolio of cryptocurrency. And there's a term that I like to use as a Steam evangelist. And so I really like to get people involved. And, seeing his artwork, knowing this guy my whole life, I'm going to link y'all up, and I'm going to get him a Steemit account and see what we can do about getting him involved. Because some of the work that he does in Houston, you see it in magazines, you see it in Red Bull ads, you see it in Coca-Cola, and it's not rare, or it's rare that you get to see the face behind who actually creates ads, these urban ads and designs for a lot of these companies. So I think something like that would be a nice breath of fresh air to the artistic side of Steemit.
How you even know this guy and don't have a Steemit account yet doesn't make sense to me.
Man.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know much about the Steemit. I mean, I've known, Ryan. I mean, he mentioned this to me, and I mean, I was just like, yeah, I mean, I'm about, new opportunities, new stuff. So, I mean, I'm all with it.
In fact, the shirt that I'm wearing, I went to his shop and got the shirt made, and he was like, "What's this?" And so I was explaining it to him, but at the same time, that was at a time that I didn't have a very eloquent way of explaining Steemit, other than you could put shit there and you get money. You know, that was at the beginning. That was you know the whole thing, the whole phrase that we use. We come for the money, we stay for the community. You know, at that time.
Yeah, I agree with that. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's a real factual statement. I got talked into checking it out, but it was all the money. A friend. I told you. I think I told you. I make video games with my son, and the first artist that worked with us on our first game, he was always preaching to me about Bitcoin, and I had no interest because I had no knowledge at all. And then he started to tell me about Steemit. He started to show me some numbers, and he was like, "Look, I know how you are on social media. I think you could connect with people really well. Why don't you check this out?" And I did, and I immediately saw massive potential. And I can tell you, like, what I used to do on Facebook and what I used to do on Twitter, it's nothing like how I took Steemit. You know, to me, it's a massive business opportunity, and I'm taking that route on it. You know.
Exactly. You know what you were saying about making video games. I understand that there's a project that you're on right now that's video game centric. It will be on the Steam blockchain. Do you mind explaining to our viewers about that? What's it called, and just let us know about the project.
So I can throw a little bit out there. I like to be slightly tight-lipped about projects that are very close to launch. The less opportunity that I provide competition, the better. But we're building a blockchain arcade where we will be hosting arcade-style video games that you can play game credits in exchange for cryptocurrency. And there is a reward system involved, and I kind of am going to leave it there. I don't want to get too much into it from that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, again, it's solely just because it's always beneficial to stay ahead of any potential competition. And
you know what? There's
one of those.
Most things, I can tell you the biggest. I respect that decision, and I can tell you the biggest mistake that I ever made. It wasn't on the blockchain, but I was starting a 3D scanning and 3D printing company. I started a Kickstarter campaign. I reached out to the company whose scanner I'd be using to come up with a decent amount of money to put my service with their product into the Galleria, which is the largest mall in the country here, and it's based here in Houston. Well, you know, they told me that unfortunately they weren't going to be able to assist me with this project, and then find out 3 months later that that company ends up with the same style of service in another mall in Houston. And so I was devastated. I was like, my Kickstarter campaign sucked. I mean, don't get me wrong. I made money off of it. I got media attention, and I was able to move forward with it. But by sharing as much information as I did, I not only the people that were supposed to partner with me ultimately became the competitor, you know, and a very crushing competitor with deep pockets.
Sometimes you gotta hedge your bets. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But again, really, for the most part, what I won't go into detail about is the reward system and what we're doing there.
Yeah.
The simple fact that we've built an arcade that we're hosting indie developers' arcade-style video games on that you can play with game credits purchased with crypto, and there is a reward system. And we're close. We're really close to launch. We're doing a lot of polish on our API tools, the tools that allow. We provide the tools to game developers. They put them in their builds, and it allows the games to directly communicate back and forth to us. That's really what we're polishing right now, and working on the aesthetic of the way the site looks.
I think
which is also being done, in partnership with Block Brothers. I got to throw a shout out to them anytime. They're a new witness, and they're well worth voting for. They're doing a lot of great things, man.
I think that I should. I'm gonna offer. You may have already come up with this idea, but I think it'd be kind of cool to come up with a Hots or Shots video game. Not sure how you would go about doing it, but there's got to be some sort of arcade style Hots or Shots game to where someone could interact with that system.
You just made sparks go off in my head.
Yeah, that's what I do.
I'm excited about the show, to be honest with you, man. I'm really, really close. I think I think maybe we go live with episode 1 next week. Worst case scenario, it's going to be 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, I like the idea.
I'm testing out an editor. I need to be able to partner with someone that has editing capabilities so that I can do my focus on getting the episodes done and my partner can focus on the editing. And I'm testing someone out today, actually. I've been spending the entire day getting the files uploaded because God knows that takes forever.
Well,
depending on how it goes with them depends on how fast the show's going to pop.
Here in this studio, we had a full production studio. Not that I'm offering any services because if there's somebody that's already working with, but I am offering services. But no, we have a pretty decent production studio here. But I like seeing what people can create, whether it's like using a cell phone or using like a handheld camera, because everybody has like a different visual style. So one of the things I liked about one of the ones you gave me, the sneak peek, was your intro. The very simple, but it reminded me of Guy Fieri on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. You're like, hi, we're here in Austin, Texas. And you're in front of the big Austin sign, and you're like, this is an episode of blah, 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 Hots and Shots. And I was like, you know what? I need an intro like that.
The only thing I'm going to be bummed out about that is my time was limited in Austin, and unfortunately, that was the only intro piece I got to do. It's a classic one. It's right in front of the Welcome to Austin mural.
Exactly.
But that will be incorporated on all of the first 5 episodes. So I'm a little bummed out, and I know for the next trip when I go to see Papa Pepper that's something I'll change, and I'll make sure I have still in that style, but I'll have multiple ones so that I have one for each episode.
Yeah.
But the Austin trip was great, man. It was good stuff. I got my first 5 episodes. It's ready to roll.
It's unfortunate that I didn't get to do it, but I think that I'm gonna have to have you come on a show one day, and we're gonna have to figure out a way to get both of us on screen where we can see one another, and we can do this Hots and Shots digitally.
No, I'll just come to you. I got no problem with Texas.
Okay, so next time you're in Texas, we'll have you come in the studio. Go ahead.
Just more episodes that need to be done. That's all.
So
more episodes that need to be done in Texas. That's all.
So you come to Houston. We'll bring you in the studio. We'll host you, and then you film yours in here while we're filming the show, and we take shots of hot sauce and whatever our respected liquors or spirits are.
That sounds fire, man. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I'm just getting excited about it. I mean, I won't go too much into it, but it'd be kind of fun to do something like that in Colorado. I probably wouldn't last though.
Yeah, but I would totally be down for that. For me to make that trip plausible, I need a total of 4 to 5 episodes planned there. Being that you're in Houston, I'm going to assume you may know some more Steemians in the area, and you might be able to help set that up quicker than not.
Exactly. There's a Steemian that I just met. His name is the Mad Goat. Have you ever seen his post?
Not familiar.
Okay.
But, I'm about meeting everybody.
Exactly.
That's one of the cool things about this show. Obviously, I'm going to target some specific accounts that I'm interested in, but this show is for me to meet as many Steemians as I possibly can, and to be able to introduce them through this format to all the other people in the community.
So, and I'll just go ahead and throw this out there, as I do Comic Palooza every year. A lot of it would have to do with the 3D printing and the virtual reality and all the other stuff. And maybe we can do it around that time and see if you can come, because I plan on getting a booth for cryptocurrency, and it'd be cool to see how many Steemians we can get to come down for the weekend of Comic Palooza, and we can all man this booth and just kind of interact with people, and it'd be like one big-ass meetup.
Yeah, no, we talked about that yesterday, and I said it's a great idea. I definitely would be interested. Like I said, the show has to pay for itself. You know what I mean? So I need to, as long as I know that I have 4 to 5 episodes to be able to film the week that I come, that's a trip I'll plan with you right away.
Cool. Well, like I said, we'll host you here, and for anybody who doesn't know, you're Johnny Clearwater. Will you mind spelling that to the listeners and viewers?
That's JONNY Clearwater, CLEARWATER, Johnny Clearwater.
Did your wife get your cigarettes?
Yeah. Yeah, she did. I was like, hey, they could call me in at any minute. And she made a face, but she went and did it for me.
Well, you tell her howdy from the Crypto Talk Live.
Here, I'll let her, you can say hello to her. This is my wife.
Hi, wife.
Hello, wife.
She does handmade gifts and crafts, so she's...
Oh, wow.
At work.
Does she sell them on Etsy?
Yeah, she has an Etsy shop. This is her war zone of a work area. Yeah, she does metal crafts. She hand cuts things out of brass and then hand paints them. They could be things that you would put in your yard or signs you hang on your wall or pretty much anything, realistically. But that's what she does for a living. She's been running an Etsy shop for how long, babe? About 4 years now.
See, that's the thing that I like the most is everybody that's in this room right now has some sort of entrepreneurial spirit. Then we're speaking to someone who has an entrepreneurial spirit, whose wife is, on an entrepreneurial pursuit, and that's one of the things that drives me to do this show and connect people is like to become self-sufficient, to become self-sustaining, to figure out ways to do what you love, to turn it into money, and that's kind of the beauty of Steemit. Like whether it's writing, whether it's rapping, singing, or if it's teaching others, like that's a great platform for someone to turn it into a business and maybe explore the idea that they could do whatever it is they love for a living.
Yeah, she's been hard working at it for a while now. She kind of really fell into a niche, and her business really steadied once she started doing animal signs. She fell into some animal groups on Facebook, and they were like, oh, can you make me a Scottish Terrier with my family name on it, and stuff like that. And that's where her business really boomed, is when she started doing that.
Brandon, you're...
She's on Steemit. She's on Steemit, too. She doesn't post as often as she should. I give her shit for it all the time. But she is Flower Power Art on Steemit, all one word.
Hey, that's a good handle.
Yep, I just wrote it down. You're going to be followed. Tell her she'll be followed. It looks like Hammock House.
She has a store called Flower Power Showers on Etsy. Because when she very first got started, we were making custom handmade outdoor showers that have these giant shower heads surrounded by metal brass flowers all painted, and that's how she started her business. So it's Flower Power Showers, but yeah, she's Flower Power Art on Steemit.
Okay.
I had to pump my wife there.
Quick question, Johnny.
Quick answer.
Have you, well, with Hotch and Sot specifically, have you looked into sponsorships?
So yes, that's part of the business plan. I mean, I don't want to pretend that I'm not treating this as a business. I need to be able to get some episodes out to land some of the sponsorship I'd really like to land.
Such as Mylanta or Tums?
Well, you know what? I would take a Tums deal. I eat Tums daily, so I would take a Tums deal. And realistically, if a particular hot sauce company reached out to me, I of course would do a deal with them. But I think what I'm really looking for is, in regards to the Shots episodes, to try to get a liquor brand to get on board. But that's.
We're listening.
Launching the show, I do have a sponsor. I actually just set this up just 2 days ago. We have, I don't know if you're on Steemit also, but we have what we call whales. They're really large accounts on Steemit. And I made a deal with a whale. So I will be promoting their Witness as well as Booster, their voting bot. So Booster has become the sponsorship for the show, and I made a good deal with them for my first 26 episodes. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Would that be First Stickin'?
Yeah, First Stickin' has become a sponsor on the show.
You know what? I'd like to have him on the next show so he can come on and talk about Steam Speed. Should let him know.
And he loves to talk. It's very plausible.
Yeah, I was going to reach.
I don't have a date. I don't have a date set yet, but I will be going to Peru to do a show with him also.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to reach out to him yesterday, but I was stuck in traffic, and I was like, man, it's too short notice. I'll line him up for next week. So I want some of that Viking power here on the show. And,
They'll bring it.
all right. Well,
people definitely bring it. But yeah, he's my first sponsor on the show. It's a great deal I made. I'm really happy about it. It's going to really help the show get its legs underneath it right from the get-go.
There's something I want to touch on. Your sponsorship with him is to promote his voting bot, or voting platform, I should say, and his witness. Do you mind explaining to the viewers that may not know what a witness is?
Okay. So I don't in regards to this, but people that are familiar with crypto understand that, like when you do a Bitcoin trade, for example, you have to wait for confirmations, things like that. Steam has witnesses that run the nodes, basically, and the top witnesses end up on, we have a list of our witnesses, the top 50. Once you're in the top 20 or so witnesses, they make really good money. I'm not the right guy to professionally explain what a witness is.
So
I know what they do, but
essentially what it is it's mining, but on the Steam platform and the Steam blockchain. Instead of using all the equipment, you use a delegated proof of stake, which, based on the amount that you have invested in the platform, you can basically go on a campaign to put yourself above the ladder of how the confirmations come to you. So the more confirmations that come to you, you make money that way. So that's the thing that keeps the platform running. I mean, yeah, it's even difficult for me to explain, but yeah.
It's important, I'll tell you this, for Steemit users, if you don't vote for witnesses, you have no reason to ever complain if the site starts to fail you. The witnesses are there to help this site run, to help it get better. And a lot of, not all, but a lot of the witnesses are also parts in large projects that are coming and already released and being built and whatnot on the blockchain as well. It really is your responsibility to go out and vote for them. And I can tell you this, you get so many votes, and I only have like 9 used. But that's because there's only about 9 that I have a lot of true faith in what they're doing. It's one of the reasons why I made the deal with First Stick. I know how dedicated he is to the platform, to Steam blockchain, to its success. And because of that, not only do I vote for him, but I had zero issue making a deal to promote his witness as well.
So there you go. So anybody who's on Steemit, it's like living in the country and not voting and then complaining about who's in office. A little bit different though, but it's the same concept.
The same type of responsibility.
Exactly.
You're just as obligated to this platform as you all think it is to you, and do your job. Go vote for your witnesses.
So living proof that you can start a business on the platform.
Just real quick, I cannot. I made an exclusive deal with First Stick, and so on the show, it's only his witness that I'll be promoting. But I do want to tell you right now, if you're not voting for Block Brothers, you're wasting a vote on somebody else. I mean. Just all there is to it.
I mean,
Jerry Banfield instead of Block Brothers, you fucked it up.
Yeah, actually, I mean, Jerry Banfield is more of a brand than an actual, person on the platform that does anything. But hey,
he's my most favorite esteemed.
I want to thank you for taking the time to come on and telling us about Hots and Shots. So someone has a question for you. Top 5 coins. You said you have a diversified portfolio, and Steemit is what brought you into that. So before we head out, I want to know, what's your top 5 to buy, and what's your top 5 to avoid?
Ooh. Okay, so I'm a huge fan of Litecoin, so it's definitely on the list. Obviously, Steem. Although I personally earn Steem, so because of that, it's not a coin that I buy. I want to take the organic route of earning it and building it that way, because if that opportunity is available to me. To those that aren't on Steemit, though, let me tell you right now, what we're doing with the Steem blockchain and what's going on over there, if you don't own Steem at this point, you're totally missing out. EOS, you know, that's going to change the game a lot. EOS is a fantastic coin to get your hands on. From that point, you know, well, no, my next big one is Neo. Neo is a big coin for me. I have a lot of faith in it as well. From that point, I would only add, so there's exchanges that have their own coins that offer incentives. If you find a specific exchange that has that type of system, that has those types of incentives, for you to not be buying some of that coin also is absurd. Because, I mean, I'm not going to name out a specific exchange or a specific coin, but I use an exchange that has a system like that. I bought into its coin, and I daily get little fractions, but I daily get fractions of coins every single day. I mean, I don't know what they are, and then some of them because all of a sudden I've got 0.08 of this coin that I've never heard of, I go look into the project, and if it's something I like, I throw some money at it. If it's not, I just let it sit there and hope one day it pops off and makes me, you know, an overnight millionaire on accident. But I definitely recommend finding an exchange that has those options out there. Know that just working with the giant exchanges isn't what you have to do. You know, obviously there's more security in some of them, but as your guest earlier stated, if you have your money on the exchange anyway, you're at risk. So, you know, it's one of those. If you're going to take that risk with something that has a reward initiative, at least, you know, so you can get something out of it in the long run.
Well, I like that you didn't mention Bitcoin in that Type 5.
No, well, okay, so I didn't know that it was a one guest at a time kind of thing. I had no idea what I was stepping into with this, by the way. Earlier, when you were talking about, you know, some people think, oh, well, I can't afford a Bitcoin, so I don't get into it. Obviously, they're not aware that you can just buy fractions. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that Bitcoin's still the right coin for you. I feel like I was kind of in that same boat. I knew I could buy fractions, but I'm one of those, I can't just buy Bitcoins. And since I can't, and I can't trade them and things like that, I'm not going to see that real profit margin. You know, if I buy $100 in Bitcoin, I'm only going to see a fraction of that profit margin. And there's obviously a lot more opportunity out there with other tokens. There's a lot more risk with them as well, but I don't really think, if you do your research, there's any more risk than any other cryptocurrency out there.
Hey, Johnny, and Johnny, we're actually we're running out of time, but tell me the one coin to avoid.
Oh, Jesus. That's not fair. That's not fair to any of the projects out there, realistically.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to leave you with that. And let me
give you one more coin that I recommend, or at least one more industry coin I recommend, and that's the stoner coins, man. THC coin, pot coin, cannabis coin. These projects are extremely beneficial to the ever-growing legalized pot industry in the United States, and due to federal laws, these coins are helping those companies stay in business and do transactions that they can't do with our federal banks. So I'm a huge supporter of those also.
Well, I'm going to be with you because I have TH coin. So, yeah.
Yeah, man, it just hit a fucking great bottom.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm holding it for the principle. But hey, thanks for coming on air, sharing your thoughts with us, and I hope you stay tuned for next week's episode as well. So we'll be reaching out to you.
I apologize. I didn't hear about it before, but I do now. And I mean, I only just recently started following you. I didn't know who you were until I was looking for awesome people in Texas. So.
Well, hey, I'm glad we found each other now. We're going to do some work together. I'll be getting at you.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Johnny.
Thanks for having me on the show, man. You guys have a great
My
night.
pleasure. All right.
Alrighty.
Hey, guys, it's Crypto Talk Live. It's coming to an end, so we'll see you next week, Wednesday, 3 3 to 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. And remember, it's always HODL, don't sell. See you next week. Cryptocurrency is a medium of exchange of digital currency. Some people say that it's the currency of the future. I say it's the currency of now.